Welcome to another Demarcation Media Mega Construx review. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at the ODST Squad Ambush set. Before we get to the set itself, let's take a quick look at the box. And I've made it clear that most Mega Construx boxes I'm really not a fan of. And that's mostly the same for this one. I like some things about it, like the fact that they split the whole thing between orange and blue. I think that looks really nice. The window style is really nice. And the art itself is really nice, but it's so misleading. Especially for this ODST. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But, you know, as it is, not the biggest fan of it. Just as a quick reference, figures come packaged in this little blister setup. You know, nothing too special about it. The instructions actually look very nice, even though they use the same overly detailed computer-generated images. And that one ODST still has a problem, which I will point out later. But these instructions are pretty nice. Again, they're just like a big, long piece of paper. But, I mean, you don't need much else. Alright, so let's take a look at the kind of extra builds that come with the set. The first one, and the biggest one, is this kind of barrier piece. And it's very simple. Very, very simple. But, you know, I kind of like it. It's realistic in its shaping. And, you know, it's just a little piece of cover for any of your figures. And it'll fit in nicely to just really any setup. So, I like this even though it's pretty plain. The other piece is a kind of mounted cannon for the brutes. I like this little plasma shot piece. It's very useful, and it can actually be stuck in some of the flamethrower pieces by the reverse end if you want to, you know, do something with that. The coloring of the gun is nice. That red is kind of a bit of an eyesore. Maybe a translucent blue or just black would have been nice there. But the design of the gun is very nice. So that's another good bonus. And I've heard some people, you know, complaining about how those are really the only things that you get. And yeah, you know, maybe a little piece of street or, I don't know, some foliage or something would have been nice. But as it is, I think these are pretty good. The first figure is a brute miner. He comes armed with a plasma rifle, which, to start off with, I don't really like the design with the farther prong sticking out over his upper arm. That just kind of doesn't work. You kind of have to put it upside down. That might just be, you know, due to the design in-game. It doesn't translate well to figures holding it. And this one's also the squishy material, which I'm also not a fan of. I like this piece. It looks very nice, but this squishy plastic makes it, I don't know, just easy to put out of shape. The brute himself looks very nice. The red lines have been applied far better than I was even expecting. I can't really even see, you know, any spots that are smeared or smudged. The color scheme is very, very cool. His head, despite having a big bulky helmet, is fully articulated. It pops off. No paint on the head, unfortunately, which that's kind of a bummer because the molding is pretty nice, but just as is, it's kind of weird. I guess they meant for you to just leave the helmet on. My only major nitpick with this guy is, for some reason, the shoulder armors fiddle around. Like, they'll slide off easily. This one literally would just fall off if you turned him. I had to put some sticky tack in there, and that worked pretty well. But this guy is definitely a good one to have and to get in large quantities. Next up is the Brute Chieftain, and this dude blows the other guy out of the water. He looks really nice. Let's take a quick look at his weapon. It's just kind of a purpley, kind of shiny brute shot, which is a nice weapon, but I don't know, I just would have preferred a gravity hammer or something, because, you know, you see these chieftains with gravity hammers a lot. But, you know, that's a minor, very minor nitpick. Again, the red lines all over this guy have been done perfectly. Goes on the helmet, which looks fantastic. The special shoulder armor goes around the back. And this color scheme, this black and red, just really makes this guy really just scary. Even though, you know, they don't have the same bulk as the older figures, I still think they've got the imposing look of the brutes here. Pop the helmet off. It's the same head. And before we move on, I just want to get a closer look at this helmet, because this is just really nice work. There you can see the helmet and how fine the lines are. Very impressive. Now here's where things get a little bit dicey. Before I get real into it, let me show you the accessories here. SMG, very nicely detailed. Removable silencer, which is a very nice bonus, and this silencer is compatible with a couple other guns from the Halo line. And he's got a fairly normal gray backpack. So that's pretty neat. And let's take a look at the ODST himself. Compared to the one on the picture, I'm sure you can already see what's wrong. This dude has some very nice black printing going all the way down to the chin, while this one does not. All of the pictures for this set show him with extra black going on the face, and that's just not a thing. I don't know what's up with that. And I was surprisingly disappointed with the production value for these guys, because, you know, I saw the brutes and they have all this tiny detail lines all over everything, and it was so well done. And I had a hard time finding a single one of these sets that had a well-applied visor and a well-applied outline. As it is, this dude needed some Sharpie filling at the bottom of the black outline, because the paint just wasn't there. And, you know, you can see the paint, the light gray paint here is okay, but it's not nearly as fine and crisp as it should be. Let me move in a little bit closer so you can see the visor. I'm sure you can see the little bit of shininess where I used the Sharpie. And, you know, turning it on the side, you can see, look, there's just kind of smudging. And at the top, the visor wasn't applied all the way. Around this side, it looks decent. And I don't think dark blue and black was a good design choice, because it kind of blends, and then from a distance, you know, it just looks like he has a big black slab on his face. So that's kind of weird and a little bit disappointing. However, I mean, it is an ODST, and this desert color is very nice, and it's hard to stay mad at those shortcomings, just because this is a very nice color scheme for such a massable figure. And, you know, this guy is just the generic one. Before I go on, I have a bit of a nitpick about the ODST design. The leg armor. It's way too tall and square. Even if it would be more accurate to the game to have this, you know, as it is, I think lowering this and making it a little bit more round would have been way better for posing, because as you move it, the corners get caught on his little, you know, pouches, and that's not good. when I'm doing toy photography, I want to be able to set this up quickly and not have to finagle the armor into position just so he stands up. So I'm gonna weather these guys, and I'll probably end up trimming that just because it's a big pain in the butt and limits his posability a ridiculous amount for no good reason. Last but not least is the Communications Officer ODST. He comes armed with a gray SOCOM pistol, which, you know, is generic, but it's a nice massable weapon. And again, he suffers from many of the same problems as the other ODST. You can see the gray is more smudged here. Kind of rides up on the edge of the front armor plate. The silver on whatever this sensor pack is, somebody please tell me down in the comments what that is that's painted very well. I quite like that. The visor on this one is a little better. There was only a few smudges in the black, and there's like kind of an extra bit of paint up in the top. I'll move in a little closer so you can see that in a minute, but I want to show you this pack, his kind of communications pack, which is actually 2 pieces. I like this piece quite a bit. It's very nice. So that's cool. Now let's move in a little closer so you can see this guy's visor. So now you can see the paint better. You see the blue is a little more even and crisp, even though again it's a little too dark and it blends with the black. You see that extra smudge of black up near the top that I was talking about. And this one only had a few mess ups along the side that needed filling in with a Sharpie. You can see the communications or sensor, whatchamacallit, on top. Looks very nice. And then on the chest, you can see that kind of mist paint application. As an added bonus, you get a stand for each figure, and they're about as basic as you can get, just plain old dark gray. So what's the final verdict on this set? And you know, to be honest, it's mixed, because, you know, the brutes are great, perfect army builders, and I mean, who doesn't want more ODSTs? And desert camo is great. The colors are great. The production value leaves something to be desired, as does the design of the leg armor. Now, I know the design of the leg armor has been around for a while, so that's not too much of a nitpick, you know, because people have been loving this design for a couple years now. The accessories for this are great, and there's a fly buzzing around my studio. Sorry about that. The weapons are pretty nice. Like I said, I'm not a fan of this squishy plastic, but it's a minor nitpick. This gun is very nice. The barrier, it's a little underwhelming, but like I said, I like this. This is great for the kind of photography I do. I can just take this outside, stick it down in the dirt, put a guy behind it, voila, perfect setup. So, should you buy it? Well, depends. Do you want more ODSTs? Do you want more brutes? If answer to either of those is yes, then I say yeah, go ahead. The retail price is $16, which is not bad. That's about $4 per figure. Then you get the barricade and the guns and the backpacks and all that. So that's a good price. If you're buying it online, it can be upwards of $20 or $30. Don't pay that much. This is not, with the amount of production errors in the ODSTs, this is not worth $20 or $30. So, if you can find it in stores, I definitely recommend that you go ahead and grab it, or maybe grab a couple so you can have, a couple squads. I mean, this is called squad ambush. I don't think 2 figures count as a squad. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on this set. Could have been better, I think, but as is, it's pretty nice. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.